this video tutorial, I'm going to be going over how to use variables further, take user input, and examples of problems with how we can solve them in real life in C++ programming. So if you recall in the last video that I did, I told you not to worry about this header for now. Well, you're going to have to learn what this means right now. So I just commented it out right here what this does. Okay, so all it simply does is allows the user to take user input and to output things to begin with in the first place. If this wasn't there, in other words, we wouldn't be able to use cout or cin rather, which I'll show you later throughout this video. That's how to take user input. This is just an exception to not use standard : cout, because I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Because let's say I got rid of this, okay? So if it was cout and then we would do hello world, all that good stuff, it's gonna create an error because the exception isn't passed in your program. So in that case, we would have to do standard : and then cout. Same thing with here. So it would be standard : and line. And it's going to be pretty annoying if you're going to keep doing this over and over again, unless you absolutely want to for no reason whatsoever. So that is what it does. So for now, using namespace standard, std in this case is short for standard. So that is what it is in that circumstance. So here's what I mean by that. I'm going to go over a practice problem with you right now, how we can use input and user input and output to solve a real life problem in C++ and any back-end and front-end programming languages that you may have or inquire at all as you wish. So let's say you want to create a program. Alright, so here are your instructions. Write a program that allows the user to take in age to see a rated R movie by itself. This is a little harder example, but for now I'm just gonna get rid of this, and then and we're gonna output something. Okay, so first what you need to so let's say you're given a problem like this, all right? So what we have to do first is we need to create a few variables. So notice how here it says allows the user to take in age and output your age. So that means we're going to have to create an integer variable called age, or name the identifier as age, which is also, I also mentioned in the previous video, your variable name. So int age is declared. We can't initialize it and we can't set it equal to something because we're going to be taking user input in this problem. So I'm going to add one more thing to the problem. So and to take in your name first before taking in your age. So I'm going to have to create two variables, string of type string, name, data type, alright, that variable has been declared, don't worry, so is int age. So then cout, what is your name, for example. And next, it's gonna, and then you're gonna have to type in something in C++, how to take in a name or take in user input in general overall. So how do you do this? So the answer is remarkably simple. Notice how, since C++ is a predecessor of the language C, we notice that there is a C in front of out, and out means output. So likewise, we can say the same for cin, which is how you take user input. So we take in the built-in function cin, extraction operator, and then name with a semicolon in the end. The difference between these two operators is that these two less than operators are mainly used for outputting something or showing something in your program, while these greater than operators are mainly used for inputting a single argument. So, and then we're going to say cout hello, and then we're going to substitute that for name. So, and then we're going to use user quotes again. How old are you? Okay. Think of math as like this. You're substituting whatever that empty spot is for, let's say you're given x plus y is equal to z, and you need to find out what y is given the values x and z, okay? So you plug in those two values and then you solve for y. The same concept goes for here, but only this time you're plugging in whatever the value of string name is equal to, so it's right here. And now it asks the question, how old are you? So what we have to do now is the same process, cin, and then age, but only this time you have to enter a valid number, like a whole number. Since it's an integer variable, you can only input whole numbers. Otherwise, the compiler is going to give you a mistake or an error message. If you want decimal numbers, you can declare the age variable as a double, but I wouldn't do that if I were you. So now finally we would write cout is equal to, let's say my name is, we're going to give it some space here, name, and I am years old. So if you're given a problem like this that states what your objectives are, then this is how you would approach it, something like this. And I forgot to put a semicolon. Don't forget your semicolons. No, except every statement, other than some circumstances, you don't need to put a semicolon. I'll go over those later. But for every other statement, you need a semicolon. Like I said, it's sort of like the period at the end of a sentence. So right now, let's see this will work. Let the compiler do the work. So if we go to our console and run this, what is my name? All right, I'm going to say Max. Hello, Max. How old are you? I am 19. My name is Max and I am 19 years old. Okay. Well, I forgot to mention, look at the output right here where my cursor is. Notice how there is no space between the O and the first letter of my name. So white space always matters. So that's a little typo that I just made. So that indicates to me that I need to put a space between the ending quotation mark and the ending of the string literal letter, which is right here in that case. So, and a great tip for programmers is right, if you're going to do a big project, for example, work slowly and smallly, okay? And work small and work slowly in order to prevent huge mistakes. Otherwise, you're going to be in for a big surprise. It's going to be a lot of trouble. Or let's try it again. Let's say, hello, what is your name? My name is Amy, for example, okay? Hello, Amy. How old are you? I am 26. Hi, my name is Amy, and I am 26 years old. So, like I said before, if you're given a problem like this is how you would approach it. Alright, so remember, something like this header, the pound include IOStream, will always be in a C++ program, a regular C++ program. And remember this is all it does really, is to take in user input and output things. Because if we didn't have this, we wouldn't be able to use cout or any output statement whatsoever. So we need that to be there. Same thing with this. Like I said before, this is an exception, unless you want to do what I showed you earlier in this video. Now, I want to go over with you some other problems how you can also use these concepts in your C++ program. Let's say write a program that allows the user to take in their average and calculate their income. Okay, so we're gonna have, so notice the keyword average. If you're given an instruction like this, notice the keyword average, okay? It's a sum of two values divided by the quantity of those values. Okay, so let's say you're given an average of 3 numbers. You would add the 3 numbers and then divide the quantity of numbers given. Okay, so in this case, you're going to have to create 2 variables, double variables this time, because, well, if it's involving economics or any finance of some sort, it's going to involve decimal points like cents or whatever currency you're using in your country, wherever you're from. So double, let's call this one initial income, and then double, and then double final income. Oh, notice how when I just typed in final, it's gonna turn blue. I'm gonna go over keywords in a whole other video way in the future, so don't worry about that right now, currently, okay? So far so good? Or if you want to do a shortcut, you can do something like this. Instead of using extra lines of code and space for it, since it's already, you can also create the same variable like this. Since it's already declared with in type double, it's just a way to save space. Okay, so whatever works for you, you can do that. I personally prefer this option, but if you want to do that, you can do that also, and I'll show you why this is beneficial soon. So let's say cout what is your initial income. See out. Welcome to calculate your income, for example. Okay, so what is your initial income? So CN is initial income. Okay, so, and then C out, what is your final income? This is going to involve some math here, so I'm going to create one more variable to make a math equation using the information that's been given to me. Okay, so see, what is your final income? So this is the part where you're going to be entering what your last income is. Let's say you work at a job, or you're an accountant, some sort of financial job. That would be you. That would be your situation. So what is your final income? CN, and then you type in final income. And then, since I already declared the variable average of type double, I don't need to redeclare the variable down CN, below CN, excuse me, to do the math. So average is equal to initial income plus final income divided by 2, because we are given two variables. And I'll go over what math operands you need to understand later in another video. So see out, this is your average income. Let's say $, okay. Average and line. Okay, so let's see if it'll work now, okay? Average. You know how I got, this is the part where it confuses everyone. So if you remember from basic math, an average of any quantity of numbers is the sum of all those numbers that you are given divided by the quantity of those numbers. Let's say you are asked to calculate the average of 5 numbers with any kind of values that are given, it doesn't matter. And then you add those up and then divide by 5, because you are given 5 numbers to add up and sum up. But in this case, we're asked to only have 2, so we only need to add the 2 values and then divide by 2. So this is where I got the average equation right here. So this is how it began. So let's run this and see if it'll go on. What is your initial income? Let's say my income is $890.67. What is your final income? Let's say $1,278. 445.835. This is, you're probably wondering, hey, there is no third number, there is no third decimal place after the point right here. Well, this is just an average for mathematical purposes. So don't worry about that right now. We will fix that in another video when I teach you more headers. From that exist in header file libraries, like the one on top right here. This is a header file. All right, there are more of those that are needed later on in C++ programming. Now, I want to go over with you one more final problem before we finish this off, okay? So let's say write a program that allows the user to calculate Celsius from Fahrenheit, if I can spell correctly, and to output that Celsius answer. Or, you know what, I'm just gonna make a multi-line comment because this is not necessary to make it every single one a line comment. So write a program that allows the user, this is how you also make a multi-line comment, by the way, if you forgot from before. A single line comment starts with this, a multi-line comment starts with a /* and ends with an */. So if you don't remember that, that's how it begins. So notice the keyword calculate. So we're going to have to do some math here. And notice how we have Celsius and Fahrenheit. Okay, so comparing to the other two problems that I just went over, this is a much easier one. But the reason I'm going over with this with you right now is so that you can master it on your own. So if you want to create a program, a hypothetical program that allows you to do something else with it, then this would be your way, or this would be your step. So let's say I would do double Celsius, if I can spell correctly, and then Fahrenheit. Alright, so we're done with this. Alright, so now it's asking us to calculate Celsius. So we need to know what Celsius is. So if you remember the Celsius equation, the general equation for Celsius, then life will be much easier for you. If you don't, I will be going over that in just a bit. So cout, let's just say hello. Welcome to your temperature calculator. And cout, enter a Fahrenheit variable to know what Celsius is. All right, we're done with the first part. So far, so good? Okay, so now, thankfully, if you're given this example, if you're given this instruction as an assignment or whatever, then you'd only need to input one thing. And that, in that case, would be Fahrenheit. So Cn is equal to Fahrenheit. Okay. Okay, so there we go. Now, remember how I said if you don't remember the Celsius equation, this would be the perfect time for you to take down notes and see what it is right now. So Celsius is equal to Fahrenheit minus 32. I misspelled that. Remember, C++ is case sensitive, so you never want to confuse the two with an uppercase and a lowercase variable, times 5/9. Because if you think about it, I'll tell you a proof why. Because 32 Celsius is equal to 0 Fahrenheit. So, in other words, if you were to take Fahrenheit and take the difference of it by 32, because if you do unit conversions, 32 Celsius is equal to 0 Fahrenheit, and then multiply that by 5/9. 5/9 because you're given an approximation of that temperature. So now you're going to, since you already inputted Fahrenheit, and you're going to let Celsius do the calculation itself, whatever Fahrenheit is stored into memory right here, and it's going to do the math and store that value into Celsius's memory. Okay, so whatever value this is, it's going to be stored into memory into the variable Celsius. So now, finally, we would do Cout is equal to your Celsius variable is Alright, so there we go. I mistyped something. I'm just going to fix that right here. So thankfully, a problem like this is a lot easier compared to the other two examples that I previously gave you or worked on with you. So try not to fool yourself too hard with this. But the reason why I'm going from hard to easy is because I want you to master it if you were to attempt to do these things on your own. So now if I run this, it should be given, hello, welcome to your temperature calculator. Enter a Fahrenheit variable and know what your Celsius is. So let's say I want to know, it's a Fahrenheit to Celsius converter, so to speak. That's a kind of program this is. So if I enter, let's say 140 Fahrenheit, I'm going to let it do the work, and then it's going to give me a Celsius variable of 60. So we know this is a correct approximation. We know this is a correct value of that. Or let's say I run this again, but this time I put, let's say, 152. 66.6666 rounded to the nearest hundredth, approximately. So, like I said before, this is the closest approximation possible to a Celsius equation. So, if you want to write this down on paper, for example, I highly recommend you to write C, where C is Celsius, is equal to open parentheses F, where F means Fahrenheit, minus 32, close parentheses, times the fraction 5/9, where 5 is in the numerator and 9 is in the denominator, as shown right here. So this, my friends, is a perfect example of how you would be able to use this as a converter. If you want to find out, if you want to convert Fahrenheit, if you want to do the exact inverse or opposite, you can even solve this equation for Fahrenheit yourself. Just multiply 5/9 by itself by Celsius on both sides. That way the 5 and the 5/9s will cancel. Multiply it by the reciprocal on both sides, and then add 32 to both sides of the equation to get Fahrenheit is equal to 9/5 times Celsius plus 32. If that's how you wanted to approach it, that would be your answer. So this is all for you now, you guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great night. Please hit subscribe and please hit that notification bell at the bottom and click on all updates to not miss any of my videos. I appreciate your support. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day. All right. Have a good one.